All right, so this is CPT 162. This is the face-to-face section, which is 031. It has 24 possible seats. There is another section which we call the flex section, and that's 032. Those students watch the recordings of the lectures. So what I've done is I've started the recording. You saw me do that. Put the little microphone on. If I go too far, it'll fly off and not be able to. And that way the lecture will be recorded. Now, you can also watch the lecture. Just because you are not in the 032 section doesn't mean you cannot watch the lecture. The lectures will be available on Blackboard. I'll show you where they appear. And you can watch them as well. So if you want to go back and review something, you can. This is one of several classes this semester that will also be closed caption for the hearing impaired. So you'll have captions. Now, the way that's going to work is initially when the lecture is uploaded to Blackboard, the captions will not be there because they take another few hours. But if you look at it the next day, you'll see the captions are there. Okay? So we'll be recording everything and you'll have access to it. Okay? All right, my name is Mrs. Weldon. I'm one of 3 full-time faculty in computer technology. I teach programming, web development, and database. Many of you have probably met Mr. King, who's our primary networking cybersecurity guy, and then Mr. Wiggins, who's just entertaining. Right? You've met him? Annabelle knows. He is our game programming guy. So he is game programming. I don't do any game programming. Okay. All right. Now, I'm going to start by taking us into Blackboard. If you haven't been there before because it's your first semester or you've never used it, to me, Blackboard is the location for all information. Now, what I mean by that, let me make this font a little bigger. What I mean by that is that if you have a question about a lot of things, like if you have a question about how you're going to be graded, if you have a question about assignments, the schedule for the semester, any of those kinds of things, if you need extra help that maybe you need beyond the book, lab hours for the labs you have to come to, you will find it in Blackboard for me. In fact, sometimes students will say, you could have put this in Blackboard and it would have been helpful. I'm glad to do that because, to me, Blackboard is a great resource for you. You can see it from home. You can see it here. Anywhere you go, you can pull it up on your phone. So it's a good resource for you. You should never be without information that you need because I think you have it in Blackboard. Now, you can access Blackboard. I'm going to abbreviate it this way. You can access Blackboard from the portal. You guys all use the portal? Yeah. You can access it from the portal. That's the place that you use to register. You can also access it from the ATC website, and I think it's under the student link, but you can find it later and figure out where it is. But I don't really like to do any of those. I like to go straight to Blackboard. And if you just type in this URL inside the browser's address bar, then you will be able to go quickly to Blackboard. So that's what I'm going to do. In our department, we really like Google Chrome and Mozilla Firefox, and we really don't like any of the Internet Explorer versions, Edge, anything from Microsoft because those browsers tend to be unpredictable. So we're going to recommend that you not use those. So I'm going to use Chrome. Now I have an icon in my taskbar for Chrome, but if you don't, then you'll need to go through all apps and find it, and you can just click on the Windows Start button and go to all apps, and then I'll leave it up to you to locate it. So, to Chrome we go. Now when you're in Chrome, like I said in our little notes a minute ago, if you want to go straight to Blackboard, you can just type in blackboard.atc.edu into the address bar. That way you don't have to worry about if the ACONTEC website is up, if the portal is up, if the portal is slow. Presto, you're going to be there at Blackboard. Okay? Now, you sign into Blackboard using your ATC email account. So mine is weldonl@atc.edu. And of course, I have my password that I use for email. Now what you'll find when you get into Blackboard is you'll have a variety of little boxes, categories. It can be overwhelming. You can look at it later. I think the simplest way to view the information in Blackboard is to go to the courses at the top. And that way you just get a list of your courses. All that other stuff kind of fades away. And then you would see your course. Now this Blackboard shell is for both of those sections that I mentioned earlier, the 031 and the 032. So both sections are using the same Blackboard shell. You're sitting in the face-to-face lectures. They're watching the recorded lectures. Recent announcements appear in part below a course. They're not complete. You can click on them and see the full announcement, or you can just click on the course itself, which is what I'm going to do, and go right into what we call the course shell for this course. So what I've told you is that Blackboard is the location for all the information. That means you should have a course syllabus in here, a timeline, what textbooks you need, what assignments are due each week. It's all here. So you shouldn't be confused about where to go for information. Here is the full text of the announcements, which you can read later. I'm going to go on over down to course info, which is on our Blackboard menu, and will provide us basic course information. So the first thing at the top of my Blackboard shell is the textbook. This is the textbook. They sell them in the bookstore also. I think they sell them for the price that is listed there, but I'm not sure. I didn't type in that price. It comes automatically when I pull the book in. So if it's a little bit more, well, then you'll have to pay it.
No, it was $59. I think the used is like $44 or something.
And get the used. Get the used books, because they're fine, and nobody's going to want this back in like 6 months. Yes, sir?
For some reason, my Google Chrome doesn't have a scroll bar.
Well, I can't help you with that now. So you can just kind of hang on and see what we're doing, or you can use Firefox instead, or you have a friend who looks like he might help you. Okay? Because if I stop and help you, we won't get stuff done. So I think you're okay. I thought you were in a disastrous situation.
I fixed it.
All right, good. Okay, now, down below the textbook, and get the used, like I said, get the used books. The information that you need as far as files that are available on the textbook website, I will also provide to you. So buy that used book, okay? Now, if you took the course previously and didn't complete it successfully, you will have the 3rd edition, which is fine. I don't want you to go buy that if you don't have it, but if you have it, it's fine. Chapters have been rearranged. So at some point it'll be confusing if you have that old book, but we can sort that out as well.
Also, you can get like a used copy of the 3rd edition for like $15.
Right, but don't buy that one. Okay. All right, let's go to the syllabus next. The syllabus, if I click on it, it'll download it in Chrome. That means it's going to come down at the bottom here because that's the way I have mine set up. And if I then click that, it'll open in Word and be ready to go. And I apologize for the 19. I don't know why it says 19. This is 18. So that's called typographical error number 1. I have a lot of trouble with typing. You'll notice that real quickly. All right, phone number. My office is down the hall. The office door has office hours. But mostly you want to come see us in the lab. And I'm going to talk to you about the lab for computer technology. Here's a brief overview of the course. Here's more information on the textbook, but you already had that. Also, we'd like you to get a flash drive. Should be able to get one pretty cheap these days. They're not a hot item anymore. And you'll need to buy printing credits from the bookstore, or you can buy them online through the portal. Okay? Because I have you print a lot of things. I'm the person in this department who makes you print. So you'll need printing credits. I think it's 5 cents or is it 10 cents? I can't remember. I think it's 10 cents a page. I don't remember. You can print stuff at home, but there will come a time that you have to print here, like when tests come. So you're going to have to buy the printing credits sooner or later. The reason we recommend that you get stereo headphones is not because we're teaching audio, but if you want to watch the lecture videos in the lab, you'll want to have headphones on so that we don't all hear the lecture video playing. We also allow you to listen to music during test taking or working on your assignments or white noise or something. So good headphones are a great thing for you to have. All right. The course learning outcomes are here. I'm not going to go over them. You can read them later. And then information about email etiquette, critical thinking, which is something very important to us. You learning to think, not just to learn information, but actually to analyze that information, okay? So read through this later. There's also information about attendance. The college requires 80% attendance. So that means that if you miss over 20% of the class sessions or the labs, we'll withdraw you automatically. So don't miss. Okay. And if something happens that you know you've got to be out for a while, you just need to let me know. We can work on it, obviously, but don't plan to miss class, and don't sit and calculate how many is 20% either. That's the wrong mindset. You want to be with us every day and in lab every week. Okay. If you have a documented disability, you owe me a sheet of paper that's provided by the counselor who handles students with disabilities, and his name is Mr. Weldon, and he's in the enrollment center. And then there's information about academic dishonesty. Let's close that. Move on to the addendum, which has more information. It's just below the syllabus. And again, it's a Word document. And you have access to Microsoft Word through Office 365. It comes with being a student here at the college. If you don't know how to use that, you can get some help at the help desk. All right. So here's about our class when we meet. And then information about the flexible delivery that I already mentioned and the open lab. I'm just going to summarize it for you, and then you can read it in detail later. As I said when we started, you're in the 031 section, which is face-to-face lectures. There's also a flex section, which is 032, and watch the recordings of the lecture. Okay? Both sections are required every week to come to the open lab. Computer Technology Open Lab is in room 1126, and there's an adjoining room as well, but you enter through 1126. You have to come every week. Now, if you are doing well with your work, I won't bother you if you come 1 hour. If you're doing poorly, C or below, you'll be required to do the college's mandated 3 hours. So obviously we're going to believe that you all are going to do well, so you can start out with 1 hour until I harass you, right? And I come back to you with my stick and go, you're not doing so great. We're going to need 3 hours from you. The lab is open about 35 hours a week, so there's a lot of latitude for when you can come in. I'll show you the hours for the lab in a minute. There's a lot of latitude. The biggest complaint we get from students is that we're just not open on Monday, and they don't like that. And when we were open on Monday, we had on average 2 students appear for 2 years. So we decided not to be open on Monday. Those 2 students, I'm sure there's some of you here who would like to get started on it. Sorry, we're open Tuesday through Friday. Okay? No weekends. All right, that's the lab. So everybody's got to come to the lab regardless of what section you're in. If you're in the 32, you have to watch the recordings of the lecture, and I'll be checking to see that you do that, because that's like your attendance in class. All right. You can again read about classroom disruption. Hopefully you already know what that is. I'll talk to you more about lab assignments when we have them. Students are always interested in this. There will be 4 tests given. Now, tests will be taken into open labs. So they won't be in the lecture space that we're in now. That should make a bit of sense to you when you think about that flex section that can't come to class and be with us. So all testing for all computer technology classes except CPT 101 are done in the open lab. And we have what are called designated test weeks. And the first one is week 4. That means during week 4, if a course is going to have a test, it's going to be taken in that lab. And as we get close to that time period, I'll tell you how that works. But all testing is done in the lab. Again, you have the freedom in those 35 hours to decide when you want to take the test and what order you want to take it in. The bad news is you might have 4 or 5 tests. The good news is you decide when to take them. Nobody's going to make you take them all on Tuesday or all on Wednesday. That's kind of nice. All right? Okay. All right. Grading. Those 4 tests will account for 60% of your grade. You have a lot of lab assignments. Every week you'll have a little lab assignment, and you'll have some quizzes, and that's the remaining 40%. You cannot pass on homework and quizzes alone. But you also really cannot pass on tests alone unless you make all hundreds. And then you just get a D. And nobody makes all hundreds. Never seen it. Some little thing that's going to go wrong. Okay? So we need to do all of these things. Now, if you have a choice in a given week and your time is difficult to manage between doing the lab assignment and the quiz, which would you choose?
Lab assignment.
Right, because the lab assignment counts more. You know what most students choose? The quiz. That's a bad choice. I want you to do both, but if you only do one, let's do that lab assignment. Let's practice making websites. Okay. All right, I got more information on makeups, cheating, withdrawal. You can read that course outline. And then something that's really important, and I would recommend that you print this page out and put it inside your book. This is your schedule. Now, this same information is contained inside Blackboard under the assignments test. But this is a nice overview of everything that you have, so you can just look at it quickly. This week we're going to cover a couple of chapters, and you have a couple of quizzes, and the open lab assignment is very simple. So you've got a good bit to do, and it's due by Friday at 3, because that's when the lab closes and all assignments are due. So by Friday at 3, you have to have all of these things done. And at least one of these is password protected, so that you must come to the lab to do it. And at least one of these things requires a printout to try to encourage you to get your fingerprints and get that sorted out. Okay? Then next week you'll have a quiz and a website on Halloween, and so it goes. Most weeks you have a chapter quiz and a website. And all the chapter quizzes come from the textbook authors, so you can find the answers to the questions where? In the textbook. I picked the ones I want for you, but I didn't make them up. They're all in your book. You can be confident that somewhere on a page in that chapter is the exact sentence from which they pulled that question. Y'all know about textbook quizzes. Okay. All right. You got your breaks too. We got a Labor Day break. We got a fall break, Thanksgiving, and then here's when the exam period is. And you can see the test weeks are highlighted in blue. Okay. All right, so this week we're going to cover 1 and 2. You're actually going to cover 1 primarily when you do the chapter quiz. I'm not going to spend a lot of time in chapter 1 because that's something you can do. We're going to actually get into making our own web page. All right, so close that, and we're back into Blackboard here. Now I'm into the lab. There's a handout that discusses it, but what I'm more interested in for you right now is the schedule, so I'm going to open that up. Advance the Word document. The lab is open, as I said, 4 days a week. It's open till 9, 2 days a week. So for students who are working and can't make it here in the daytime, we're open till 9, 2 nights. So 9 to 6 on Tuesday, 9 to 9 Wednesday, Thursday, and then 9 to 3 on Friday. Now, a lot of times, it's really best if you come into the lab when the person whose work you're doing is there. If you're doing web page work for me and you have questions about it, ideally you would come into the lab when I'm there. If you come into the lab and Mr. King is there, his specialty is networking and security. He may or may not be able to help you with the web page. It's not his thing. I certainly can't help you much with networking and cybersecurity. It's great you can come in, but if you want help from that instructor, you might want to plan your schedule to come in when you're in. Now, if you are a night lab attender, we have Mr. Armstrong in at night. He's an adjunct who knows a lot of things. He knows at least a little about everything. So he knows a little about security, a little about web page, a little about database. He's an amazing resource for you. And if he doesn't know, he's going to try to figure it out. So that's the one kind of exception to trying to come in when the instructor you want is there. Okay? All right, does anyone have questions about the lab? We track your time in the lab. Obviously, how would I know if you were there an hour? The way we do that is you use your Tech ID to swipe in through a card swipe, like a credit card reader, but junkier, and it'll track your time in the lab. Now, your time is tracked by week, by class. So let's say that you're in 3 classes. Maybe you're in 162 with me, you're in 232 with Mr. Wiggins, and perhaps you're in 201 with Mr. King. All right? That means you owe however many hours they each say. I've said 1, maybe they say 3, I don't know. It's not my problem. When you come to the lab, you say to yourself, today I'm going to work on web pages. So you swipe in with your ID card to that class and do that work. Maybe you finish that and you say, I've done my hour there, I think I'll work on some cybersecurity stuff now. Then you're going to log out of that class and log into ISC 201. All right? It's not just time in the lab, it's time in the lab as required by your instructor for a specific class. Does that make sense? It's a big thing. All right. This schedule, of course, will be here in Blackboard for you all semester. You can print that off if you want. It's also on the door. All right, this is an entertaining thing to read when you get time, but otherwise, let's move along. Back over to the Blackboard menu, I've gone through all the course info. Here's the instructor info. It's just information about me. None of it's amazing, but you can read it if you like. Student support in all Blackboard shells is exactly the same. I didn't put any of this in, so I don't know anything about it. But you can. If you're writing papers for an English class, they have a link to APA and MLA or psychology. We're not writing papers. So let's move on. Course documents for me and for most of the faculty is where we put things like our teaching slides and other handouts that might help you. If you're working with a Mac, for example, I'm working with Windows here on campus, so here's information on how to use an editor on the Mac. Okay? All right, assignments and tests, as I mentioned earlier, is exactly where you're going to find the assignments each week. So we're in week 1. The timeline said there were 2 quizzes and kind of a handout. So let's go into week 1. Okay, here's a little detail about what's here. Here's your handout that you have to print off, which gives you steps to do, not hard. Here's your quiz about the open lab, which I've been discussing. I've been talking about that with you all this morning. So all the things I've been saying, that's what that comes from, and what's in Blackboard. And then here's the quiz on the book. All of the quizzes on the chapters are open book. So bring your book, find the sentence that has the answer, and you're good to go. The best way, of course, to take a quiz is to look at the chapter before you start flipping the pages for the first time. You know what I mean? If you know what's in the chapter, you can more quickly find the information. Or maybe you actually studied it and you know the answer without finding the page. All right? Okay. So this is due this week. At what time and day? Friday at 3. Now, Friday at 3 means Friday at 3:01, the week 1 folder will close. Bye. And the week 2 folder will open. So you can start over the weekend. So you might say, well, I wanted to do it, I wanted to keep working just because it's 3 o'clock. Can I do this till 3:15? No, the folder closes. We're into computing here. Thing shuts down, done. Mr. King walks out the lab without so much as a by your leave, and that's the end of that show. You can stay, but kind of get work done for this week. That this week is done. All right. Now, the quiz that has a password is this Intro to Open Lab quiz. That means this one has to be done in the lab. This one you can do at home if you wanted to. This one has to be done in the lab. Okay, I mentioned that we're recording. The recorded lectures will appear under the Echo Active Learning tab. Nothing's there now because, of course, we're recording our first session today. Remember, if you're interested in the closed caption version, it will be delayed by 4 to 6 hours after the initial version appears. Okay? Just because there's a time involved. Computer technology, we don't do much with discussion boards, and your grades will all appear here in a grade book. All right, that's kind of what I call the course intro. Does anyone have questions? So this week you need to go to the lab at least an hour. You have a quiz to take in the lab that requires an instructor to type in a password. You have a handout you have to print. You can print it here with 20 credits or time. And you have another quiz on the chapter. And starting next week, you'll be actually making websites, which I'm going to start doing soon. Can't stand it. The clock isn't working. You see me looking over it many times. All right, we're good? Okay. Then let's start making a web page. All right. Let's start making a web page. Go back to our little notepad where I take notes. Okay. All right, we'll get rid of this now. You've got it. All right, so the primary focus of 162 is making web pages using a text editor. The wrap is okay. That is the primary focus of this class. In the course of learning to make web pages, we will use HTML and CSS. HTML is tag content. Tags are selected by you based on the semantic meaning of the text. I won't always type everything the same. We're just getting started. But I will always pronounce things. Okay. So we're going to work on this part for a few weeks. Notice that nowhere in that description did I say anything about how gorgeous it looks. CSS is rules that you create and apply to the HTML to define appearance. Okay? So the first few weeks, we don't really think a lot about how it looks as much as we think about what is it. Then we start after that to do CSS. Now, some of you are unhappy with that already. You want it to look great right out the gate. It's important to you, or you've done CSS before. I don't care. We're not doing it for a few weeks. And for that, you should be grateful, because there's plenty of HTML to learn. Right? Now, you're going to need to memorize the HTML tags that we teach, all of them. So there's a bit of memorizing to do. Some are easy. For example, if we have a paragraph of text, we're going to tag it with a paragraph tag. And the paragraph tag is a P. That's pretty easy, right? That makes sense to you. No problem there. But there are others that they don't make as much sense, and you're just going to have to make yourself memorize them. Okay? Now, semantic means is another word for like the meaning of something. So, like I just gave the example, if I have content that is a paragraph. There you go. Paragraph. Then I'll put a P tag on that. If I have content that is a heading, and you should know the word heading from English class, where you have a heading, think like an outline that you would make of a document before you created it. If it's a heading, then I will choose heading 1 or heading 2, and they go all the way to heading 6. And the headings are numbered based on importance. So, if you were writing an English paper and you had a title at the top of it, it would be a heading 1. It is the most important thing in the paper. If further down you had another title for another section, maybe that would be a heading 2. They're in numerical order. Now, as we make choices of these tags, there will be some formatting that comes from the browser, but it is not of concern to us at this time. We're tagging based on meaning. It's all about meaning. The reason that you tag your content based on meaning is for individuals with disabilities who use screen readers. Screen readers are primarily used by the visually handicapped. They can't see the page, they can't see it well enough, so a screen reader reads the page to them. And what we want the screen reader to do correctly is to indicate the type of content. So the screen reader would say, this is a heading 1, and then it would read the heading 1. This is a paragraph, and then it would read the paragraph. This is a list. This is list item 1. This is list item 2. We want it to be really clear to them what is actually on the page. Right? And if you're not familiar with screen readers, probably not. Go to YouTube and watch a demonstration of them. They're fascinating. If you tag it incorrectly, then the person who can't see is confused about your content. So the tags are for defining the nature of the content. Questions? Got it? All right. Last example here before we start making our page. Content that is a list of items. We're going to need to use one of our list tags. There's an OL for an ordered list, where the order matters. There's a UL for an unordered list where the order doesn't matter. And there's a DL for a list where I'm going to have definitions or descriptions. Got all those. So let's say we have a list of our courses that we're taking this semester, and we're going to put it down on our web page. Does it matter what order we put it in? If we say, no, it doesn't matter, I just wanted it to be a list of my courses, then I would use an unordered list. Maybe it's a list of my favorite shoes in order of wonderfulness. Now that might be an ordered list, because I want to put at the top of the list the shoes I like very best, right? Does it make a little sense?
You said OL is what now?
Don't worry, you're too much detail there. I love it, but it's too much. Just kind of stay with me.
Okay.
We're going to get it, okay? We got weeks to do this. This is a nice overview. I love that you're taking notes. Kudos for that. All right, okay. So this is the general idea. What I'm hoping that you come away with today is that I'm going to be creating tags to define the content on my page. The tags will be used by the screen reader and the browser to say what the content represents as far as meaning and significance. That's what we're trying to get. Okay. All right. Let's start making a web page then. Now, I'm going to use some slides from the book and from my editing of them. I've already downloaded them from Blackboard just to save time. You can download them later if you want to. And I'm trying to decide what chapter it is. If it's 1 or 2 that I want to go right to. Let me see. 2. I'm going to go to 2. Yep. As I mentioned, you're going to study 1 pretty much on your own because we're going to jump right into 2 making some web pages. Coding testing. All right, now I want... There you go. That's the first slide I want to show you. What you're looking at on this slide are HTML tags. Things to notice. Let's go ahead and go into slide view so it's a little bit bigger here. Okay. What we see similar in all of these little weird items is they all begin with a less than sign and end with a greater than sign. Look at that. Okay. In HTML, we call those angle irons. I don't know why, we just do. So you'll hear a web programmer or developer say, angle irons. You're missing a leading or first angle iron, but it's just the less than greater than sign. They're on each side. Okay. I also want you to notice that on some occasions, there is a single word, you know these, but there may also be a second word with an equals and an assigned value. We've got that there, and we have it right down here. And the next thing I want you to notice is that some tags are like a set. So I've got title and slash title. That's a set. I've got head and slash head. Body has a closing tag. Paragraph has a closing tag. And HTML does. So there are 2 tags here that don't have closing tags. Our document type tag and our meta tag. They don't have closing tags. But the others all do. Okay. Now, let's talk about the meaning of these. Doc type HTML is information for the browser that says this is an HTML5 page. So the version of HTML we're using is 5. That's what is said there basically. Can anyone guess what the next tag is telling the browser?
What language is it?
Go ahead.
Like you said, the language that it's in.
Yeah, and what language is this going to be in?
English.
English, right. So that's a language tag. Okay, that's what that tells. Language, English. Good. All right. This is the information also to the browser for the tab or window title. We'll see that. This tells what character set we're using. If you're not familiar with character sets, there's information in the book on that. I'm not going to go into in detail today. And then the part that actually shows up on the screen is between the body tags. So the other information isn't really on the screen. The title is in the tab. You'll see that. But what's in the body is actually what we see on the screen. Now, this is sort of not a paragraph, yeah? I mean, I don't know what it is. It's just a couple of words. It's not a paragraph, it's not a heading. But in our first page, we pretend it's a paragraph. But I think English people would come in first with a 4. Right? Okay. So how do we get this information created? Well, we type it, all of it, by hand. And we need to memorize that by week 4. Okay? So I'm going to start up an editor for us to do that. So we'll let this go, and we're going to talk about it. Question?
I need to memorize all that right there.
You will. Yes. All right. Now, we're going to use a text editor in this class to create our web pages. So, the common text editor that is available in Windows for free is Notepad. So we're going to use Notepad until at least week 4. So if I see you doing work in the lab, you should be using Notepad. If you are a Mac user, then you're going to use TextEdit, and you need to look at that note I had, and you need to talk to me about it because it's a bit different. So that should take care of that if anybody has a Unix box, okay? That they're not running one of those OSs. So let's open Notepad. Now, I can click on the Windows Start button and go to All Apps and find it. I can also type into the search bar, which I'm a huge fan of. So I'm going to type Notepad in there. And after I type a few letters, it should locate it. And here's Notepad. This is what we're using for the first several weeks. Okay? Not this, no. This. All right? I was typing in earlier this morning. Right? Okay? So according to our little example, we need a document tag to start. So I'm going to use my less than, my exclamation point. Capitalization doesn't matter. People do typically capitalize doc types. I'm going to, but it doesn't matter. Then I need a space and HTML. I'm going to end that particular tag with the closing angle iron. Okay? All right, the next thing we're going to type is the tag that defines the language that we're using for our HTML page, as well as begins our HTML set. All right? So I've got HTML, language, equals, and the quotes around it. It's English for us. I'm going to close that tag itself, and then I'm going to complete the set. See how down here there's an ending tag for that set? I'm going to hit enter a few times and go down and close that. Now, the reason I close that tag set now is because I know well enough that if I don't close it now, I probably will forget. If you forget to close tags, the browser will happily display your content, and you will be delighted with yourself until I grade it. And then when I find the unclosed tags, I'll take off the points. So let's do it right, okay? You chose computers either because you're a business student made to take this. Sorry, I don't know if you've got any of those in here. Or because you wanted to be precise. Computer people are precise. They're precise in programming, they're precise in networking. That's who they are. If this precision offends you, you need to study psychology or something, okay? This is what we do. And we memorize stupid stuff like this as well, okay? All right, so now I've closed that set. I'm going to go back up to the top and put the head section in next. The head is the first section inside the HTML. And using that same principle, I'm going to close the head right away so don't forget.
I have a question.
Yes.
So do you put that 2 times?
Put what 2 times?
The head and then the other head with slash?
This is my head section right here. It is inside of my HTML section. Does that make sense? No? You look confused still? A little bit? We do this a lot.
You must miss that part.
Yeah, see how this is head is inside? In fact, if it makes you feel better, you can indent it with either spaces or tabs so you can see it better. But we often have tag sets inside of other tag sets. That's called nesting, and that's very common. So we're going to see that quite a bit. Now, after the head section is the body. So I'm going to come down here. I'll use that indenting to help you. And I'm going to open and close the body section. That tag set.
Does it matter how much space between the two?
No, you didn't have to put any. Spaces are insignificant. In fact, this could all be on one long line, but we just didn't read it. Okay. Now, having said that, I need to retract a little bit on that. I don't want to give you the impression that the spaces don't matter ever. The space matters here.
Gotcha.
The space matters here, but what I mean is
Just in between them,
between the
after the
tags.
close.
Right, between the tags. That can be confusing. All right, we're going great. Let's go ahead and put in the title. Notice the title is inside of the head along with the meta tag. That's the way it's defined. So I'll give you some more indent there. Title. I close it the minute I open it when I know I need to. That's just how I do it, so I don't make mistakes. And I'm just going to put my first page. That's all I'm going to put. Right, and then there is a meta tag. You can have a lot of meta tags. We only use one in this class. If you're a programming major, you will use more meta tags in the future. If you're a networking major, you'll be grateful that this is all that you need. Right. So we're doing great. What we don't have is we don't have anything inside the body. So there'll be nothing inside the body to display. So I'm going to add this goofy paragraph. Hello world. And close that. That's our first web page. Okay. Inside the body, you can put all kinds of things. Those headings that we talked about, the list that we talked about, pictures can go in here, all kinds of things. They go in the body. The basic structure of the page will not change all semester from what you're looking at now. The title will change with every page, but the rest of the structure will be the same. The only thing that will change is what's inside the body. Now this is great, but we need to save it so that a browser can open it. So we're going to go to File and choose Save As. You want to pay attention to where you save it. Students are notorious for saving it and then not knowing where they put it. I would like to put it inside my folder I made for 162 Fall 2018. If you don't have such a folder, then you can make a folder. There's a nice new folder button here. But the most important thing is to notice where it's going. Mine's going to Documents. I'm going to double click the icon for that folder I want to put it in, and I'm going to put it right here. So I've chosen a location. You can always make this wider so you can see really well. I'm on my local hard drive. I've logged on as Weldon. Then I've got Documents, Weldmail, and Folder. Now, after you've gotten the location sorted out, go down to Save as Type and change it to All. This is very important. Change Save as Type to All files so that the saving process will not add a .txt file extension to the file name. The .txt file extension says, I'm a text file. We want to say, I'm a web page. So we want to add a file extension that says, I'm a web page. Open me with a browser. Okay? The file extension we're going to add is .html. If we do not change this to all files, it's going to put .txt on there and not give you any fanfare, but it's going to happen. So make sure you change that to all files, and then we'll give it a name. This is going to be named First Web Page, because I decided to name it that, First Web Page. Notice I didn't put any spaces. We don't put any spaces in file or folder names for the web. I mean, I've got spaces up here, but I'm just going to give you that information. The First Web Page, .html. That dot begins the file extension. HTML is a file extension that tells Windows operating system, Mac operating system. This is for the browser to open. Okay. All right. So let's save that. And I'm going to minimize the things I have open so I can go hunt down that file. All right. So I put it into Documents 162 Fall. There it is. Now, let's look at it a second. I'm viewing this as a list. If you aren't, you can go to View and choose List or Details. I've got Details actually. Okay? I like Details because I can see the file type in the third column. Here's my first web page. The file type for me, you can stretch this out, is Chrome HTML document. Now, yours may say something different. Mine says Chrome because I have designated in this Windows operating system on this computer that Chrome is my favorite browser. If you haven't designated a favorite browser, it'll probably be Edge or Internet Explorer. If you're on the Mac, it'll be Safari. If you don't know how to designate a favorite browser, you can Google that and find out how. And the browsers always want you to be their favorite. Yes, sir.
So, if we save this under this PC, is it just going to show up on the computer we put it in on? Or
Yes.
so this computer only?
Yes. You work on this computer, then it is on that computer. So if you want to take it to a party, you have to grab that CPU and take it with you, which is not recommended. So if you want to take it with you, what could you have saved it onto instead?
Under network?
You could save it to the network if you knew where a network drive was that you could use. What's another option? A flash drive. That's simpler. That's why we recommend you get a flash drive.
Can you email it to yourself too?
Beg your pardon?
You can email it to yourself too.
You can, but I don't think you ought to get all convoluted here. You can also save it to your OneDrive, which is there for Microsoft Office. But here's the deal. If you just get a flash drive and you don't put it in the washing machine or give it to the cat or the baby or any of that, it'll work really well for you. And you can say, my stuff is on here. Flash drives fail, but not usually quickly. And you can make a backup somewhere where you copy it somewhere. But he's right, because we've written it and saved it on these computers. It's on these computers only. Okay? Yes?
How do you say, are you going to tell us how you save it to your, I guess, the Chrome? How you saved it to Chrome or whatever? Not saved it, but that's your
Like Chrome
favorite
is your
site.
favorite browser.
How you set Chrome's favorite browser?
Yeah.
No, you can Google that.
Google, okay.
And then and a good time to do that too is like when you're in the lab, in case the Google instructions scare you, and then we'll help you. Okay. All right. All right. So yours might say any browser. What's bad is if it doesn't say a browser. If it doesn't say Firefox, Chrome, Internet Explorer, IE, Opera, there's a ton of them. If it says Notepad or text document, you didn't do it right. Mine does say Chrome HTML. Now I want you to notice that I named this first web page .html. Who remembers me doing that? You know I did, right? But I don't see it because this computer has been set up to hide file extensions, which I hate. So I'll recommend that when you sit at a computer, you go to View and you turn on the file extensions right here. And then I can see it, and I feel better about myself. Then I won't go in and put another .html. I've had students turn it in with like 2 HTMLs and a TXT for good measure. If you can see them, it's less likely, right? So that's the View menu of Windows Explorer will allow you to add extensions. If you're working on the Mac, you're going to see that extension most likely. Okay? All right, so this says that if I double-click the icon, it's willing to open it in Chrome for me. Yours might say Firefox. That's fine. It's anything is fine. So let's double-click that icon. And there's our web page. Not impressive, but that's all we put in. So we're happy. It's fine. Now, we put in actually 2 items that we're looking for. One is what we have inside the body, which was Hello World. The other is that title. Remember, we put in our own custom title. If you're using tab browsing like I'm using, it'll be right in the tab. See it right up there? If you're using windowed browsing, it'll be in the title bar. Most people today use tab browsing. So it says My First Web Page, and it says Hello World. I love it. It's exactly what we did. Now, I'm going to zoom so you can see it better. I'm not making it really bigger. I'm just zooming so it looks bigger, if that makes any sense to you. Okay. All right. Now, if I'd like to see the great work that I've done, show that to my friends, I can right-click anywhere in the body area and choose View Page Source. It'll be something like that in the other browsers, and then I'm going to see everything I just typed in. And so for most web pages, you could do that. You could go to the ACOMPEC web page and do that and see all the things they've written in there and be like, ooh, that's fancier than I thought that was. Okay? But you can read it. There's our nicely color-coded, too. Look how cute the color coding is on that. Right? Now, this is not a place where I can change it. If I want to change it, I've got to go back to the editor where I started. Okay? I'm going to close this tab that has the source. I'm going to go down to my taskbar and find my editor. I think it would be nice if there was an exclamation point at the end of Hello World. So I'm going to put that there. And I think I want to put My First Web Page 2018. So I'm going to change those two things. If I change those and I want to be able to see them, I need to save them. You know about saving. I'm going to do a file, and I can just do save because I'm not changing the location or the name of the file, so I can just do a save. You should know this, all right? Now when I come back to the browser, I can use a refresh or reload button. In Chrome, it's this little guy over here. I forget what the other ones are. And, oh look, there's my exclamation point, and there's my 2018. That's my new copy. What do you think? All right, who's got broad questions about what we've done with the web page? Yes, sir.
That's a new one.
Change the one. Anyone else? So on Wednesday, we'll do this again. All of it, so you can see it again from the beginning. But we'll add more stuff, more tags. Then next Monday, we'll do this again with more tags. And then Wednesday, I doubt we'll do it again because I think 3 times is enough. And you'll be making one next week, all by yourself. Now, what is going to be the easiest way for you to learn these tags? Practice. You don't learn the tags by just reading about them, watching me type them in. You learn them with that, they call it muscle memory. You typed it in a lot of times until you can type it in without looking at anything. And then you know you have that content. Because if in week 4, you've got to do this. No book, just you. And you can do it. You can do it every year. Okay? All right, last minute questions before we finish for the day. Okay. Reminders as you go. I called the roll earlier, so if you were not here when I called the roll, you need to check in with me before you leave. Blackboard has your assignment. It's under assignments test. Week 1 is here. Week 2 will be there, and so on. Got all these things to do. This one that says quiz intro to open lab is about all the things I was talking to you about at the start of class, and you should read over the syllabus and the addendum and all that stuff before you start it as well. But it requires a password, so you must do this work on campus. All this work is due Friday at 3. Quizzes are automatically graded, so those grades will be visible to you in the grade book as soon as they happen.
Quizzes in the lab?
Yes, you've got to do the password one, and you've got to give me an hour in the lab this week. Okay? You can stay in the lab as much as you like. You need a student ID to swipe in. There'll be someone in the lab to help you starting tomorrow morning when the lab opens, so you can get used to that whole process. And the lab is not a library. This is not a library. You want the library is downstairs. This is not a test center, except for that, the weeks that we do testing. So it can be loud. It's not be quiet. If you need quiet, what should you do? Headphones. Bring headphones. Okay. If you need quiet, bring headphones. That's the way to get quiet in the lab. And sit away from Mr. Wiggins. Don't come when he's even in the lab. He's never quiet. All right. I will see you on Wednesday.